Hi guys, it's Molly and Shasta, and today for homeschooling shenanigans we are doing a little bit about solids, gases, and liquids.
So we're doing a science experiment that is a chemical reaction, and so we're going to use a solid and some liquids, and we're going to see how it's going to produce a gas, and the solid is going to change into a different type of solid. And yeah, so we're going to see how that is. And so the science experiment we're doing today is something called elephant toothpaste, and we need a few things. So Molly, what is the first thing that we need?
The first thing that we need is hydrogen peroxide. You might be familiar with this because it is used to clean wounds, and I've had one that they've used hydrogen peroxide on it, and it was on the bottom of my foot.
Oh my goodness.
And don't ask.
Yeah.
And don't ask.
Yeah, so being a nurse, we don't generally use hydrogen peroxide to clean things. Just soap and water is good, but that's what hydrogen peroxide is for. So hydrogen peroxide is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So it has two hydrogen molecules, two oxygen molecules, whereas water has two hydrogen molecules and one oxygen molecule. So, or atoms, right? And so what else do we need for this experiment, Molly?
We need some dish soap. You can use any kind of brand, but we're using Dawn.
Okay.
And we need, let me go get it. We need some water.
Yeah, it needs to be warm
It needs to be warm.
to activate our, what's the next thing that we're going to use, Molly?
We are going to use yeast.
Yeah, yeast. Yep. And to make this a little bit fun, we're going to use some food coloring.
Because usually today I am going to use blue.
Blue? Okay.
And this stuff.
Okay. Purple?
Yeah,
Okay.
blue and purple, because that's what they used to make it look like toothpaste, and I want to make it look like toothpaste.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to get a container. And in our container, we're going to put our packet of yeast.
yep,
So
one.
So Molly, why don't you open that yeast packet up? Can you shake it so all the yeast goes to the bottom? Yep. And then just rip it open and put it into your cup. So Molly, what have you used yeast for before?
I have used yeast for baking.
Yeah, for baking what? With your dad?
Little chocolate croissants. I know it seems unfair, but we do it. It's a family tradition.
Yeah, it's to make cinnamon buns, right?
Yeah.
And there's yeast in bread. So this smells like dirty feet. Smell it. Whew.
No, it actually doesn't.
It doesn't?
actually smells a little bit sweet to me.
So, and it's like little granules, you see that. So yeast is a living organism, just like bacteria, just like fungus, okay? So, so what it does is it has a chemical reaction in bread, and it creates bubbles, and that's what creates those nice soft like air holes in bread, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put 3 tablespoons of warm water to activate our yeast. Because yeast this is dry yeast, and it doesn't wanna bloom, what we call bloom, or activate unless it's nice and warm and toasty. So, here Molly,
I'm getting it.
Okay.
There we go.
So we're...
Go one.
Keep going.
Guys,
2, 3, and we're going to stir it around for 30 seconds. So it's starting to activate because it's starting to get milky, right? So
I've seen this before, and and we usually stir it until it is very demolished. Is what I say.
I'm trying to
till it looks really milky.
Yeah, keep stirring, stirring.
Because
maybe we should add
they end up chunking up. Okay.
Why don't we add a little bit more, maybe one more tablespoon of water?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Okay.
That is so weird.
Let's put a little bit more.
Because they end up chunking up. And that is bad.
Mix.
Oh, it's getting really chunky. It's activated now.
Okay. So.
Look at that.
Okay, we'll scrape that off because we need that for our, if we don't have that in there, in the water, then it's not going to work. Okay, put it in the water. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do, Molly, is we need to put our hydrogen peroxide and a little bit of dish soap in our jar. So Molly has chosen to do 2 different experiments. So one with dish soap and one with without. And so Molly's made 2 hypotheses. So the first is with dish soap. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to foam.
Okay, so do you think that the soap is going to capture the bubbles and create foam?
Just like regular toothpaste, but bigger.
And
for an elephant. That's why it's called elephant toothpaste.
And without the soap, what do you think is going to happen?
Without the soap, I think it's going to, the bubbles will pop.
Okay. So it won't create like a toothpaste.
Yeah, it won't.
Okay. So the next thing we need to do is we need to do half a cup of peroxide. And the stronger the peroxide that you use, the more
dangerous it gets.
The more violent your thing is. But generally the over-the-counter stuff is 3%, which is pretty safe to use at home. Okay, so I'm just going to...
And we are at home, so...
Okay.
Basically good.
So Molly, you're going to pour it into that jar.
Okay. This looks so weird.
Okay. So it doesn't really smell like anything. Right. Okay. Put that
down. Kind of spilt, but...
That's okay.
It's okay.
So now, Molly, you can put a big glob of... Okay, that's good. Okay, that's like half a container. Holy smokes. So, the next thing we're going to do is you can put some drops of your food coloring in.
Okay. It's gonna be fun. 2 big drops. 2 big drops there.
Okay.
It's starting to expose to it.
Okay, perfect.
They're gonna mix them together and making a cool color.
Oh,
I actually kind of like that. I like that color. It's kind of fit for me. It's royal blue.
Okay, perfect. So Molly, we have a little tinfoil pan that we're gonna use.
Yeah.
So Molly, grab the tinfoil pan.
Okay.
And we're gonna put it out here.
Okay.
So this experiments. No.
Just kind of...
Okay. So now go get your cup of yeast. Get the spoon out of it. Okay. Out spoon. Can you get some of that off?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh.
So you're gonna pour that in really fast, Molly.
Okay.
And then you're gonna run away. 1, 2, 3. Run.
Oh my God.
Okay.
It's foaming.
It's foaming.
It's like foaming so quickly.
So our jar is pretty big. I guess that's why it's foaming so slowly.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's a slow poke.
It's coming.
Do I have to run away now?
No. I was just teasing you.
You were just teasing me? What would you do? Ooh.
It's a pretty cool color.
It's so cool. Can I touch it, Mom?
Yeah. So the yeast was our solid, and so now the yeast has all been activated. And so now we just have this foam, and what's happening is because the yeast has broken down the hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen, oxygen is what is causing the bubbles to happen, and the oxygen is evaporating into the air that is around us, and then we have water and soap, which is causing all these bubbles.
It smells so good.
Right? So the oxygen that was escaping was what was pushing this up out of the glass container. Okay?
Yeah, it looks so cool, doesn't it, guys?
Doesn't it? So why don't we dump some of this out into our tray, Molly?
Okay.
And then we'll see what kind of at the bottom looks like.
This is dangerous.
It's not dangerous.
Okay. Oh, the dog wiggled up. I feel like it's alive.
So now there's no water left in there. Do you see that, guys? No hydrogen peroxide. It's just foam. So all of that stuff, there's nothing left.
There's nothing left.
It's just a whole jar full of foam.
It's so fun. It feels so soft.
Does it feel warm?
Yeah, it feels so warm.
Isn't that cool?
Oh my god.
So all we had left was some foam and soap. So we don't have any liquid left, and we don't have any, well, I guess foam is a bit of a solid. But yeah, isn't that cool? Cool. So we'll be back with the second step of our experiment.